Broadcasting from the Symphony Studios in Marietta, Georgia, it's time for the Technology Harmony Podcast, brought to you by Symphony Technology Solutions. Tune in every week as we spotlight the very best minds in our industry. Now here are your hosts.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 29th episode of the Technology Harmony Podcast, brought to you by Symphony Technology Solutions. I am one of your hosts today, Katie Galley, and I'm joined by my co-host, Matt Macheno. How are you doing, Matt?
Doing well. How about you?
I am doing awesome. I'm super excited to dive in today with our guest in our Symphony studio. We have with us the Vice President of Aviation with J.E. Dunn, Iana Tassada. How are you doing, Iana?
Hey, doing great. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for stopping by and taking the time to share your story with us today.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Iana, just to get to know your background a little bit, can you share with us a little bit about your professional journey and how you got the job that you have today?
Sure. Absolutely. So I've been with J.E. Dunn over 15 years. It's the only place I've worked since college. So I went to Georgia Tech and started with J.E. Dunn. So my first few years was being out in the field, learning how to put buildings together, and just started going through the operational ranks within J.E. Dunn. Started off in a lot of different market segments. You know, we really do want our people to be really well-rounded. So let's see, during the recession, got a little burnout on operations. That was definitely a pretty tough time. So did a stint in our pre-construction group to really learn more about the pricing efforts and really trying to help get work. And about 2012, our Atlanta office had the idea to start pursuing work at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport in Atlanta. There were very few contractors down there, so we thought that was a great potential market segment to get into. So they asked me to just start looking into it. So I was a project manager at the time. There were a few projects coming up. A lot of them were design, bid, build, and we were successful with a few of them, winning them. And I really just the first couple of years had head down, just trying to really make sure we were executing well, really learning how to work in that active airport environment. And we really were performing well and building a good reputation. And that's actually where I met Matt on the Concourse HVAC project. So from there, we were in a position to start pursuing larger SEAM at risk work, which we won a big job with Delta Airlines doing their airside modernization. Kind of around that same time, other offices around our country started pursuing aviation work. So they saw that to be a really good market to get into to stay diversified. And we're starting to reach out to me and other leaders within our aviation group asking for just advice on how to do it. So I started, really realizing, okay, this should be a national vertical market for us. So really kind of started picking my head up and really figuring out how to get more connected in space, going to conferences, really building good relationships. I was promoted to a group manager, vice president of it's been 5 years ago now. But so that's my quick journey on how I got to where I am today.
Yeah, I mean, that is quite the journey. I mean, really getting thrust into this aviation space. And so, Iana, initially when you're getting into construction, you said starting in operations and navigating into pre-con and then now into aviation. How did you personally navigate each of those transitions? I mean, it seems from the outside looking in that those could be three totally different spaces to get into. So how did you specifically just navigate those transitions?
So I've always had, one that's part of that's a little bit of a natural career progression. You kind of start off in a very broad, spend time out in the field, really understand what construction's about. We want all of our people to have experience out in the field, have experience in pre-construction to really understand how that, estimating effort comes together. So again, that's pretty natural, but I've just followed what I thought I had a passion for. I've always had great bosses and advocates for me. So if I thought I wanted to take a different career path, they were very supportive. And honestly, aviation just kind of fell in my lap just for, being asked to do it. And then, really falling in love with the challenge that comes with aviation construction. It's, every market's different, but, it's extremely challenging. Once one airport, one airport, they're all very different. There's, it's challenging. There's a lot of stakeholders. You've got to really understand, all the different priorities and manage them all and really, build that cohesive team. So, but to kind of answer your question, I've always had great advocates within my company and have, just followed what I thought was going to be something I would enjoy. And sometimes that pivoted and had that support.
Yeah, absolutely. So Iana, with specifically, getting into aviation and now growing into the role that you have today as vice president, what are your primary roles and responsibilities as VP of this branch?
So I wear a lot of different hats. Yeah. Right now it's a difficult one in the aviation space. It definitely looks different than it did pre-COVID, but I wake up every day really thinking about, one, how to grow our market. I'm very, very team focused. I care a lot about our people and making sure that our team, sees a good career path, that they feel supported, that they get leadership opportunities. From a client perspective, I really care about that client experience. And that's a big reason why we actually started turning this into more of a national vertical markets, because, in Atlanta, I think our clients, you really got a great experience with our team. We really understood what it took to be successful at an active airport environment. So I wanted to make sure that experience was consistent across all of our offices and projects. So one of my roles is really help grow that core leadership group to team with our local offices, help educate those teams. Okay, what's it look like to be successful? What are the things that you need to think about? What do our airport clients care about that they might not be aware of since they haven't worked with them? So, my responsibility is to recruit, help educate, really bring our core leadership team together to also do that. Also try to get work, which right now is a little bit more challenging than other times. Really develop, trying to stay in touch with, our clients, design partners, trade partners, really figure out how to provide good solutions for our clients.
Yep.
I had a question.
Yeah, go.
Yeah, so Iana, I've known you for almost 10 years now, and I've watched you, really progress in your career. We both went to tech. We both have kind of engineering background, construction background. What advice would you give to young people coming in that start off, say, in a project engineering role? Because you've had a really tremendous amount of success in a pretty short amount of time, if you really look at
it. So a lot of, advice there is, one, just dive in, do the hard work. This is not the easiest market to be in. Don't say no to opportunities. I think that's a big thing. If you get the opportunity to, it doesn't matter what type of project you're going to be on, you have the opportunity to learn a lot from whatever it looks like. So, I always had a kind of smaller projects, but then I got to manage a lot more and just capitalize on those opportunities. We build large projects as well. And I think that's a great experience for, project engineer to really see what it takes to build a huge project. You might not be touching every aspect of the project like you would with a smaller one, but you're going to be learning how to be part of a big cohesive team to deliver a much larger project. So, any opportunity you're given, I think you need to get the most out of it that you can learn. Just having a lot of initiative to continue to learn more. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I'm telling you, my first year, I asked some of the dumbest questions that I'm embarrassed to even say what I was, but I didn't care because I wanted to learn. So I think, project engineers, if they really, in different parts, even now, I still ask questions that I understand. So, not being afraid to be vulnerable and say, hey, I'm going to ask this because I want to learn and do better is a great attribute.
And that's really good advice. I mean, being willing to humble yourself and ask questions and really presenting, okay, I really don't know, but I'm incredibly eager to learn. And that's how you're going to make progress.
I agree.
Yeah. So Iana, you touched on it a little bit already with the how COVID has impacted the nature of aviation and what you're doing. So can you dive a little bit deeper into that? In the last couple of months, what shifts have you seen happen specifically in aviation with the sector that you're working in? And then looking forward, maybe some just shifts that are going to happen or are already in progress because of COVID.
Well, I mean, obviously COVID, I think, brought aviation to a pretty big pause, at least the construction side. The ridership went down substantially, and obviously a lot of funding for projects come from ridership, come from revenue. So, we had, unfortunately, a handful of projects suspended, projects that we were getting ready to chase, that we were tracking, have been pushed out. So, to answer the other part of your question on, what we're seeing, we are actually seeing an uptick in really the general aviation, private aviation sector. I think there's a perception that that's safer for travel. So, we're looking at projects that we weren't necessarily looking at before, in that hangar development world. But moving forward, I think the biggest thing is, for everybody within the industry, whether it's design consultants, trade partners, specialty vendors, contractors, to really figure out how to partner and really increase the traveler's confidence that, okay, it is safe to travel. So I think that is just going to look a little bit differently moving forward, which if anybody's traveled, they've seen that. I mean, obviously it's, everybody's doing social distancing. I think, there are probably some technology changes that are coming. I know that you guys would be probably more in the loop than me, but, I think a lot of it's really just needing to wait to, get that traveler confidence back. But some airports are moving forward. I think they see, that leisure travel coming back, and, projects, it's a really, really long life cycle. When you start thinking about a concourse expansion from, inception to actually opening that, I mean, can be a 5-6 year project. So wow. We're starting to see a little bit more activity in the space, which is good.
Yeah. And I guess, that makes a lot of sense. That reliance on, people just gaining confidence again in travel, and just the time that it's going to take for people to feel that. And then two, that is interesting though, that you said with the private airlines then people feel more comfortable there. Is it because of the cleanliness, factor, or how? Why is that? Why would confidence be more there?
Well, you're not mingling with nearly as many people, so you're chartering your own flight, or, companies are flying their, their own little planes. And
yeah.
Whereas before, I think there was a lot of, scrutiny around, especially public companies, putting, their employees on, jets. Like there was probably some more scrutiny around that, whereas now, that just, I think, appears to be a little bit safer way to fly.
Yeah. Wow. That is, it's a very interesting shift. But I guess it's just, again, like you're saying, going to people and developing that confidence again. Well, Matt, do you have any closing questions for Iana?
No, I think this has been a really informative podcast. So I'm pretty pleased with what we covered so far.
Yeah, Iana, I've been really looking forward to this and learning more about you and what you do. It's incredibly interesting. Like Matt said, the quickness with which you reached the place you're at in your career as VP of Aviation with J.E. Dunn, it's really incredible. So thank you for taking the time. If someone wanted to learn more about you and J.E. Dunn, how might they reach you?
So I can be reached via email or phone calls. My number is 404-557-3118. Emails iana.tassada@jedunn.com. And of course, you can go to our website at jedunn.com.
Thank you all for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. To learn more about our guest and their company, check out the show notes for the relevant links. If you would like to learn more about us here at Symphony, of course, subscribe to our podcast on our YouTube channel. And don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook at Symphony Technology Solutions and on Instagram at Symphony Tech Solutions. Here at Symphony, our ultimate goal is to make harmonious music out of all the technological noise. And we hope today's episode helped in doing just that. See you next time.